Feel the power.
Oh, I can feel it.
Our moment of triumph approaches. It's
Rock Talk.
3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, granitegrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from granitegrok.com.
Rock Talk.
Welcome to another edition of Grok Talk. This week we have as guests Pete and Jemmy, the tech guy. We're going to call him up and he's going to give us the post-election requiem on this November's elections. We also have Jonathan Last, who is a senior writer for the Weekly Standard and editor of the 7 Deadly Virtues, 18 conservative writers on why the virtuous life is funny as hell. And then there's us, because, hey, that's who we are. We are Skip Murphy, Mike Rogers, and this week Tom Flaherty has joined us. I'm Steve McDonald. Welcome to Grok Talk, gentlemen.
Welcome. Grok Talk, a production of granitegrok.com, New Hampshire's leading conservative libertarian website that stands on principles and dares anybody to cross us. And we're back to feeling the power. That's a nice little bumper.
Thank you. I made it last night.
That's fabulous.
Hey, we didn't really talk about a Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, but I think that the winner is going to be WMUR's picture about the dog that got shot in the woods that said Firearms Season was open.
Yeah.
That's gotten a lot of traffic on Facebook.
Yeah.
Kimberly posted it, actually. That's who I saw it from first.
Yeah, you got to look at that and go, yep, these folks are in tune with the conservative base of New Hampshire that gets them out and loves that outdoor.
Again, and don't forget, this was written by somebody, viewed by somebody else, approved by somebody, and published. So,
Yes.
Nope, they're not like us. We all write independently. We put up our own stuff. We're our own editors. Sometimes somebody will say, hey, this word screwed up, or hey, you had a little typo accident or whatever it is, or something doesn't make sense. But other than that, we don't have people sitting around going, this is too long, this is too short, this says this the wrong way. But these people, this is big money. They have editors. They have producers. Several people saw this and went, oh yeah, firearms season, I'm good with that.
Yeah, layers and layers upon layers of editors. The professionals that look down upon us bloggers. Yeehaw.
Who know where all the counties are.
Oh, thinking of which, where's little Jimmy gone?
Has he turned up yet?
I have seen his columns. I guess he's a columnist now over the Union Leader. I don't know whether it's a paid position or not. He's had a couple of columns in the Laconia Daily Sun. So maybe he's gone off on a new venture. Maybe there's two things at play here. Maybe he's decided to get into print and at the same time did that.
He has a face for print.
He does.
No offense, James, that you're just not TV ready. And I'm not either, and I know it, which is why I do this, and I don't like the cameras, but Skip insists.
Yeah, well, at least in your case, the camera's behind you.
No, it's not. It's right there. There's one 2 feet from my face.
This
very,
one.
very close. Thank you.
That's all right. You're at the board.
High definition. Oh, look, pores. Excellent.
Well, it could be James Pindell. It could be that firearms. It could be, at the. How do I want to put this?
Just put
at the former school of John Sununu, MIT. There's this guy who has absolutely made it clear that none of us are the same intellectual horsepower as he, as an economics professor at MIT, and that would be Professor Gruber. He of Obamacare, you people are stupid fame. The guy
that is going to live on for a long time.
We're up to video 6 now.
I'm going to post. I've collected everything. I'm going to post him today or tomorrow. But I will tell you something: the investment banker who got all this stuff doesn't have a blog. Doesn't have a blog. I mean, this is Rathergate all over again.
Right. He just spends time pouring through some things that don't sound right to him.
And he did it just classic, what I would call classic James O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Put the first one out there. Let the buzz start up. Let the apologist get out there. Let him get out there and start yakking about it. Then pop up the second one. Then a little less buzz about, well, it was a mistake. It was a speako instead of a typo. And now the third one comes out. And
what you're
the
saying
fourth
is
one.
that towering intellect that had a brain fart.
No,
military equivalent of
hubris.
that.
Diarrhea would be more
hubris.
Hubris.
Yeah, big
Hubris.
time.
Hubris, yes.
Hubris.
Is that hubris or hubris?
Whichever.
don't know.
Hubris.
I always say hubris, but you want to say hubris?
Hubris.
Hubris.
I'm gonna say
Hubris,
hubris.
hubris.
The
Tom-
military
tomato,
equivalent
tomato.
of that is
Potato,
is to
potato. Let's
throw
call
an
the whole
artillery
thing
round.
off.
Throw an artillery round into an enemy camp, just one, and then wait about a minute, and then everybody gets up out of their little holes, and then you throw about 5 more. That's what they do with these videos. It's a good tactic. You know where they are once you start the first one.
And he found himself a great ally because Phil Kirpin is helping to shepherd the publication.
Who has been a guest on our program.
Yes, we should get him back on this. But
We should.
the most deadly one, I think, is now the 6th one that's come out, where he openly brags about meeting with Obama about this specific issue. So, we've known forever that Obama lies. Obama lies all the time. And, my meme this whole campaign season is consistency breeds trust, yields votes. What do you... way back when...
Obama is inconsistent. Nobody trusts him, and he didn't get the votes.
Well, not only that, but, way back when our founding fathers said this Constitution is only made for a virtuous people. And if you have a government that continuously lies to you, that continuously treats you as the enemy instead of being the public masters, and they are the public servants, how long will it be before we no longer have our republic, but we've gone fascist? And, I just keep thinking the parallels to the 1930s, not so much to Hitler and Nazi Germany, so I don't violate Godwin's law here, but I go back to Benito Mussolini.
Absolutely, who did not make the trains run on time, despite popular rumor, but did get all of the corporations either in bed with the government or shut down, essentially. The government controlled everything, even though it wasn't the owner of everything.
Right, and that's where the difference comes up. Fascism or fascist is such a political threat or epithet today. The real origins of fascism was back in the Roman times when their standard was on a pole and all of the sheaths, the grain stalks all tied together. Everyone together is stronger. But the government of Mussolini discovered we don't have to own all these companies, like you said, Mike, in order to be able to get what we want. We only have to control them, and you control them with regulation after regulation after regulation after regulation. What are we seeing today in the American economy? What is it that he wants to do? I mean, we're seeing the worst of everything that's happened in Europe now being brought to our shores. We're seeing the economy being strangled and owned almost outright in a lot of cases by the government. They're trying to do what the British Labour Party did in swapping out the current population for a new population with the executive amnesty. I mean, we've got the new program where he's now going to make a direct pipeline from Central America to bring people into America. He's going to legalize almost all of the illegals. It's like, at this point, the question that people must be asking themselves, and I mean this in a non-sarcastic, non-snarky mode, is, what is left of being an American citizen under the Obama administration?
Its value has diminished. There's good things about being here, but we have to accept our responsibilities as Americans to make sure that we retain America as a republic. A lot of very bad things happened in Europe. In the 1960s, a forthright politician, whose name will mean nothing over here, spoke out plainly and bluntly against immigration. He said there would be rivers of blood, and everybody said he was a racist, bigot, yada yada. Now we have, and there were Indians and Pakistanis and Jamaicans and what have you, Hong Kong Chinese, all coming in, all as members of the British Empire and then the British Commonwealth, until the Brits finally decided you didn't have automatic right of residence because there were too many. But that took a long time. The Indians and the Pakistanis could barely be told apart back in those days. They were all much the same color, much the same accent, and much the same work ethic. They got there, they worked hard, they put their kids through school, and they assimilated. And then the Pakistanis reached critical mass. The Pakistanis are Muslims. Now you have grooming, rape gangs, beheadings in the street, honor killings, all going on in more places than you can shake a stick at. The country is in danger of being lost. Now Nigel Farage stands up and says we have to stop this stuff, and he's being called a bigot and a racist. But you know what? He's right, and so was Enoch Powell, the guy in 1960.
Yeah, and UKIP, Farage's political party, has gone from nowhere to being a big deal now.
Right.
And I think it shows, basically, the UKIP has been called Britain's Tea Party type of deal. It's one thing to be jingoistic, which is what the left hurls at us all the time. I look at it, there's nothing wrong with being proud of our country, because while we do have flaws, we are really good. We are a good people, and there's nothing wrong with believing in the essential goodness and moral righteousness. There's an entirely other thing to trying to impose it on others. And we don't, generally as Americans, we don't try and impose it on others. We attempt to do the right thing everywhere. Yeah. And once again, where's President Obama? Offshore in a foreign land. What's he doing once again? Apologizing for America.
On Veterans Day, of all times. Too.
Yeah. In a mouse suit that was missing only either a communist emblem or a Star Trek emblem, depending on your take.
Talk about a goober moment. I just looked at that and go, yep, he looks out of place. And you know something?
Beam him up already. We have no use for him down here.
He was out of place.
Yeah.
You're right. That's why he looked that way.
He did. And he got ignored.
Right.
People... He has lost his status on the foreign stage. He can only stay on the domestic stage by doing outlandish and outrageous things like he's doing now. I mean, he's doing absolutely everything that I can't conceive of a president acting in this way against his own people. And yet then we have the stupid party.
We're not his people, though. We're not his
No,
own
we're
people.
not.
That's what it is.
That really...
Let
you're
my people
absolutely
go.
Right. No,
we're the colonizers that, he happens to live in this country, but, he doesn't see us as his people. He doesn't. It's clear that that's the case.
He says the words, but like with all politicians, you have to look at their actions and the results. And nothing, and I've said this for years, phrase is determined weakness. There is nothing that he has done to make America stronger.
And it doesn't matter where he was born.
And that's not all, folks. You talk about him being out of place in China, but that wasn't all. Him and Kerry, who served in Vietnam, by the way, came away with what they called an agreement on climate change. The agreement was we would work assiduously to give away the store and degrade our energy supplies between now and the next meeting in Paris in 2020. And the Chinese, I forget the weasel language, but basically said as a developing nation don't have to concede anything.
Yeah, they've
said this is a lot like the missile agreement with Russia. We won't put any missiles anywhere that might get near you, and you can do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah, basically China only has to think about capping its emissions by 2030. In the meantime, our emissions are already below 2005 levels. Obama wants us down at 30% below 2005, which basically says the only way you can do that is to ruin the economy. Right. Now, here in New Hampshire...
Or build lots of nukes. Good luck with that.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen either, because that would strengthen America. You have to just think about this. He's now looking to do another energy tax on top of that. And here they are telling us what light bulbs that we can use and telling us we have to be more efficient. There's that Gene Shaheen stupid energy bill that says, Americans, you will live your lives this way because we tell you you have to have brand new appliances. So guess what?
Portman.
Yeah, Sheen-Portman bill. But yet... if you do all this stuff, what have we been rewarded with? Most people's electric bills here in New Hampshire are going to go up by $40 or $50 come January. Now, isn't that just great.
They're already the highest, third highest in the country as it is.
And here we go with, he was crowing about, well, we've made our cars to be twice as fuel efficient as what they are right now. And,
You can't dictate fuel efficiency. They happen when the public demands it. Otherwise, the manufacturers find some way to fudge the rules.
Well, that's a free market mentality, which they don't have at all.
No, they don't.
No free. That's one of the big keys.
He's going to change the regulations again. Another thing that I've bookmarked, haven't gotten to yet, is that they're going to make another big push for electric cars owned by everybody. Now, look at the polar vortex that has just swept through the Midwest.
It's not a polar vortex.
Oh, what's the new name?
No. It's not a polar vortex.
Polar vortex is is the excuse the liberals use to try and blame it on global warming.
The climatological circumstances under which it is defined as a polar vortex is already way off the Canada coast and has absolutely nothing to do with the cold air we have now. Yes, the typhoon that went up into Alaska pushed the jet stream, created blocking, drove the cold air down. It's not a polar vortex.
Okay.
Weatherbell.com. Go there every week. Learn about the climate. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
All right, we are back. That is loud.
I didn't click that time.
You didn't click? Well, that's your problem. You wanted to do all this extra stuff. Click away. Hey, Tom Flaherty's with us. Mike Rogers, Skip Murphy. I'm Steve McDonald. This is Grok Talk. We are going to be joined by Pete and Jemmy in the next segment, followed by Jonathan Last, senior writer at the Weekly Standard. But for now, we're talking about what we talk about. Whatever. Anything at all.
The ADD bloggers.
Pass the squirrel.
And Steve and Tom was looking at it.
Yes, pass the
squirrel. ADD. Look, squirrels!
Squirrel. Oh, look, a chicken.
Oh, look, a
chicken.
That's mine. Yeah. Oh, look.
Turkeys.
Chicken.
I get turkeys all the time. There's a couple of flocks of turkeys out near me, across the road all the time. It's okay during the daytime because, one will scoot across and the others will just slowly lope across. But they're hard to see at night. And a couple of times I have left rubber on the street to try and say, don't hit them.
Yeah, it's not turkey season anymore, so they're out and about. They know.
You kill them, we grill them. You might be interested in this.
What?
See if it plays. I don't know if it will.
My master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel! My master is good at
That was it.
That was it. That was it.
Okay.
The other thing was Rick Olson, in his infinite humor on Facebook, posted a pumpkin pie on a counter, and there were these turkeys. You know the turkeys that you fold open?
Yep.
The Thanksgiving ones that are these fans, and it's a stop animation feature, and these turkeys all wake up from their fold, and they all come in and eat the pie, and all kinds of actually authentic turkey noises, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I guess we won't be seeing Rick for a while.
No?
Firearms season has started.
That's right.
He's out looking for a BMG.
The only reason I can think that they wrote that would be, other than stupidity, would be that bow season just ended, and now it's quote unquote firearms season. So maybe they went to the fishing game site and just saw the two big headings and said, "Oh, it's firearms season."
Yeah,
I'm giving them too much credit. I think.
I'm wondering if everybody is going to get that little letter that I got a couple of years ago from WMUR Hearst headquarters about you can't say mean things about us. You can't use our logo on that. It's like a screenshot. Yeah. Thank you, First Amendment fellow, ma'am.
We were talking earlier about all the different things that are happening, and we just mentioned the article that Mike found from American Spectator, and the word hijack is in the title of that article, and that's really the word that comes to mind. This is all a hijack. They don't really care. This is all about taking over and flipping everything in a different model, in the statist, fascist model. But hijack is the best word, I think, to describe it.
It is, and I had a couple of comments in my article about the Gnome of Gnome Castle.
Yeah.
But I said something to the effect that they care more about how much money they can control than controlling government spending. They care more about the trappings of power than they do about trapping the powerful.
I'm going to say that they really don't care about the money, except just to be able to bury their opposition with. The left is always talking about greedy capitalists, that they always want more and more, with the implicit thought that capitalists steal their money. Well, no. If we don't give that money, our money, to the capitalists, they're not going to have any money. They only get it when they give us goods and services that we like.
Whereas
politicians are
government
greedy for power, and that's what you see, especially here in the NHGOP. It's a small state, much smaller than a lot of large cities, so you can get up close and see that, and that's what you have seen lately, and that's why I think they're really ticked that their base rejected their top 2 ticket holders. That would be Scott Brown and Walt Havenstein. I was going to say something else.
Nah, but you don't need to. He lost anyway.
Havenbagger?
He won't be back.
Well, he said he is going to be.
Really?
We'll see. Yeah. The question is whether or not
we could make a list of all the people who've run for higher office in the last, since 2008 at least, who said, well, I'm going to stay in politics, whose names you never hear. I mean, they might be writing checks to somebody. I
met one of them last night, and he's actually willing to come on on a free Saturday. I got on the same plane as John Stephen last night.
Oh, okay.
And he's a thoroughly nice guy.
He is.
Oh, we like John.
I don't think he was quite forceful enough to make it to the gubernatorial chair, which is unfortunate. But he makes a damn good living helping states
navigate
the bureaucratic maze of Medicare and Medicaid and save themselves some money in the process. Yeah. And he's working with people like the new administration in Texas and the new Republican administration in Illinois.
Think about what you just said, though, and it is a prime example of why America isn't America anymore. That you absolutely need a consultant to help navigate government. I first ran into this in New York, where people who wanted to do a development or start a new business, whatever, could hire these expediters who knew government in and out. Otherwise, it would take you forever to do that. And you got to think about that.
You get sued.
Yeah, right. Think about that. The government has become so complex. You have to have an expert to guide you through the various levels and nooks and crannies of government.
Damn lawyers.
And he'd be the first to tell you he wishes that his job was not necessary and he could provide some other consulting service.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of guy who lobbies to make the regulations more onerous so he can get paid. He'd go do something different.
One of the questions we asked Bill O'Brien when we interviewed him for his election for House Speaker regarding the cost of obtaining public documents. I mean, you have a right to know. You request these documents. If they don't want to give them to you, they don't, and they expect you to go get a lawyer and take them to court to get them if they don't feel like giving them to you. I mean, it's already expensive to get copies of documents, but now you have to pay a lawyer a couple $100 an hour to go to court for who knows how long just so you can find out what your government's up to.
Well, maybe we should do what the government does when they want documents. Round up a passel of friends, strap on your sidearms, and go in and say, hand it over.
That would be Mike's weekly soundbite of let's attack the government or something.
There's always at least one.
If they attack you, why can't you attack them?
We should record some of those, and then when he's not here, we can fill in, because he makes a valid point, I mean,
I'm not actually advocating going shooting up City Hall.
He's just saying should.
But I mean, as the government gets more and more violent in the execution of less and less important searches and seizures, we have to ask ourselves, if they're refusing to serve us, what do we have to do to them?
So in the oh look a squirrel mode, I just read a letter from Ken Eyring last night that he sent as a letter to the editor. He's on the Windham School Board, one of the few that actually think the way we do. I think there's only 2 of them, and he's hoping to have 3 in March. But basically the Windham School Board chair said that we're going to have public input for maybe 10 minutes in the beginning of the meeting and maybe 10 minutes at the end of the meeting. And in between,
we're going to tell you how it's going to be?
Yeah, the board members are not allowed to interact with the public. The public is not allowed to interact with the board. They just conduct their business through the meat of the meeting. And so there are these free speech zones, essentially, at the beginning and the end of the meeting. Nobody can ask a question during the proceedings, so it's sort of a bubble around the board.
Guilford is the same way.
Is it really?
And
It's not
I
right.
lambasted them over that, and they just sat there, except the former Lieutenant Colonel Special Forces, Kurt Weber. His knee, as I was talking, was going so fast I thought he was going to put his foot through the floor. he just could not take it that somebody would object to their overlords.
Right. So overlord is true, and when you talk about going in and getting documents from the town hall or city hall, and you have to go on your knees to get what you need. It's basically as a citizen in your own school board who you elected. You have to go in and beg for permission to speak, and it's just, but the problem is that not enough people sort of fight back that concept. We do that, but you don't have the masses of the people going in and rejecting that, and until they do that.
Well, the number of people that actually go to school board meetings is pretty slim to begin with.
It is.
And so I assume they just think, well, we can do whatever we want.
Right.
Well, no, it is an attitude, and I think this is being pushed by the New Hampshire School Board Association, because I'm hearing about this more and more, where, and the lambasting should happen by the citizens say, look, we voted you in. The civics lesson here is that you are supposed to be responsive to us.
Serve.
Instead, what you're doing is you're putting yourself above us, and you're saying, we don't need you, you are peons, and that's turning democracy all upside down. What kind of an example are you showing for the students that may be coming to these things? I mean, colleges, fire is always going after these colleges for these set-aside free speech zones. America is our free speech zone,
right,
regardless of what they want. And no elected official should ever say, you get to talk, but we don't have to be responsive. And in fact, Guilford was putting in policies in place to where citizens or parents couldn't even approach the school board. They were putting themselves up sort of like Obama's Consumer Protection Bureau, where they are unassailable by anybody.
Mm-hmm. And that's wrong. What I would have said that if you got a public meeting, just because they're deliberating in public doesn't mean you should interrupt their deliberations to the point where they can't get anything done.
Right.
So, maybe
rules of order should be followed. However, they do not have the right to completely restrict your ability to question what they're doing.
And if the reasonable balance would be you get public input for every topic.
Uh-oh. I hear music.
All right, it's time to call Pete and Jemmy, the tech guy. We'll have him on for the post-election requiem, and I'm here with Mr. Flaherty, Mr. Rogers, and Mr. Murphy. I'm Steve McDonald. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, Mr. McDonald.
When asked whether she still supports Obamacare, Senator Jeanne Shaheen said,
"Yes, I do continue to support the law. We're beginning to see some positive results."
How can Senator Shaheen say we're seeing positive results when 22,000 of our neighbors have already lost their health insurance? What's worse, the Boston Globe reports the state's only health insurance provider radically reduced the number of hospitals in their network, forcing some people to drive over an hour for lab work, even when there's a hospital within a few miles of their home. When pressed about lack of access, Shaheen said,
"There are some hospitals that are not covered, unfortunately, and I certainly hope that's going to change."
Jeanne Shaheen promised us we could keep our doctors and our healthcare coverage. Now she hopes we can get to a local hospital? Call Senator Shaheen at 603-647-7500. Tell her we need more than hope. We need leadership. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. You're listening to Grok Talk.